Hi there, welcome back to The Art of Business English, the podcast where we help people like you get the language skills you need for doing business in English. This week I've got episode 179 and we'll be looking at how to use quantifiers at work. Now, quantifiers are important words that let us express the quantity of something. That's why they're called quantifiers. And there are several quantifiers in English and they can be a little tricky to use. So what I find interesting is that even more advanced speakers often make mistakes when using quantifiers. So here's a description of each quantifier with examples to help improve your understanding of them. And in today's episode, I'll also outline the typical mistakes people make. So let's dive in, take a look at quantifiers and how you can use them for work. So first, what are quantifiers? Basically, quantifier is a word or a phrase used before a noun to indicate an amount or quantity of a thing. So there are quantifiers to describe large quantities like a lot, much, many, small quantities, a little, a bit, a few, and undefined quantities such as some and any. And there are also quantifiers that express ideas of sufficient amount or insufficient amount, so enough and plenty. There are some quantifiers that have a similar meaning but differ because one is used with countable nouns and the other with uncountable nouns. And countable nouns are things that we can count, obviously, for example, a desk, 2 pens. And uncountable nouns are things that we cannot count and only have a singular form. For example, some furniture, some work. Okay, so those are important to remember. Quantifiers that express large quantities. Let's start with those. So we use many and much, a lot of, to refer to big quantities. We use many with countable nouns and much with uncountable nouns. And we can use a lot of with both countable and uncountable nouns. So let me give you some examples. There are many things to do today. We have a lot of time left. Don't worry. Many people take the train to work. We still have much work to do. So let's look now at quantifiers for small quantities. So these are used to talk about small quantities. So we can use a few and a little. We use a few with countable nouns and a little with uncountable nouns. It's also possible to use a bit with uncountable nouns, but it's more informal, okay? So let's look at some examples. We need a few coins for the car park, okay? So when you pay for the parking. Would you like a little milk in your coffee? Or this PowerPoint presentation needs a bit more work. I'm going to look now at undefined quantities. So when we want to refer to a plural noun or an uncountable noun without giving a specific quantity, we use some and any. And we use some in affirmatives and any in questions and negative sentences, which is important to remember. So let me give you some examples. We have some free time later this afternoon. That's an affirmative or a positive sentence. She doesn't want any coffee, which is also a negative in this case. I went to some meetings in Rome last week. Will there be any managers at the party? So that is a question. It's also important to note that sometimes some can appear in a question. And that happens when we're certain that the answer or response will be yes. Can I get you some coffee? Or can I get you something to drink? Or can I get you some food? Can I get you some water? So when we know that someone will say yes, we would say some instead of would you like any water. So sufficient quantities. The words enough and plenty express the idea of being a sufficient quantity. Both words can go with countable and uncountable nouns. Okay. We use plenty of to mean there is more than a sufficient quantity of something. For example, slow down. We've got plenty of time to get to the meeting. While we use enough to express the idea of having or not having a sufficient quantity. For example, I think we have enough computers. It's not necessary to request any more. We don't have enough clients. We have to improve our business strategy. Okay, so, there's a positive and negative form there. Now, questions when using quantity or questions about quantity. When we want to ask the quantity of something, we use how much with uncountable nouns or how many with countable nouns. So let me give you some examples. How many people were at the meeting? How many chairs do we need? How much time have you got? How much petrol shall I buy? We also use how much when we ask the cost of something. So for example, how much does this sofa cost? Or how much are those gloves? So let's look at now understanding real life use cases. So quantifiers are often used in business negotiations, and they often have an underlying meaning. And if you're not a native speaker of English, then maybe some of these subtle uses may be missed by you. So what I mean is that often people will use them to sound more polite rather than telling you straight up their true feelings. So for example, your invoice payment conditions are a bit restrictive for us. So in this case, what the person actually means is that the payment terms are restrictive or very restrictive. We use a bit in this case to sound less direct and more polite. So you need to be very sensitive to these uses by native people. Now, some common mistakes. Let's finish things here. I just want to quickly point out that common mistakes that non-native speakers make. So these mistakes generally relate to the incorrect use of countable and uncountable nouns. So my advice to you is to make sure you have a clear understanding of uncountable nouns in English. For example, in this sentence, I've used the word advice, and this is an uncountable noun, yet some people will use it in a plural form, like advices. Like to make it singular, in this case, we would need to use the expression a piece of. Okay, so for example, can I give you a piece of advice? That would work, but you can't say, can I give you some advices? So one of the main sources of mistakes when using quantifiers is to distinguish between countable nouns, also called unit nouns, and uncountable nouns, which are mass nouns. So here I have a few useful tips for you, okay? Unit nouns have two forms, singular and plural, e.g. a chair, chairs. You can say one chair, two chairs, three chairs, etc. This is why unit nouns are also called countable nouns, because you can count them. Mass nouns only have one form, e.g. furniture or clothes. So you can't say one furniture, two furnitures, three furnitures. That doesn't work. And this is why mass nouns are also called uncountable nouns. So that brings us to the end. My final thoughts are basically that, quantifiers are adjectives that are used to express the quantity of the noun they follow. And while they might refer to an unspecified quantity, they still help us better understand the amount of what we're talking about. Now, if you're looking to improve your general English, then why not sign up for one of my general English courses, my online courses over at the website, where we cover this type of grammar and a whole lot more. You can get an offer. If you click and enroll, you can use the code episode 179 at the checkout, and I'll give you a discount of 50% off on any of my general English courses. So check that out at our website or the blog. And as always, if you have any further questions or you'd like some advice, then please leave us a comment or contact us at Facebook or wherever. And if you like this article, then please don't hesitate to share it with your friends. I would love that. That's it from me. I hope you found this episode useful. A bit more of a grammar focus this week, but I'll be seeing you all in the coming weeks, and I hope you're all doing well and having a great start to your September, and I look forward to having you all again next week. Take care. Bye for now.